So hello guys, my name is Modo Wanyoba, and that's how you pronounce my name, Modo Wanyoba. That means person of house. So the U is an O, the N is silent, and the other U after the D is also an O. So it's Modo Wanyoba. And welcome to my channel. Thanks for being here. And I'm really grateful for having 500 plus subscribers on my channel. So being technically a beginner and an amateur in the field and nobody in the scene, to having this number of subscribers and this amount of viewership, I'm really grateful for what that you're helping me create together for the house movement and for the Amapiano movement, both in Kenya and Nairobi and beyond. So for the longest time, I've been planning to add more content to this particular channel, away from the mixes. So something maybe a bit shorter, something a bit more informative, something a bit more engaging. And so finally I have an idea of what I'm going to do and the name of the playlist, and that is what I want to introduce today. So the name of the playlist is going to be Modo's House. So that technically means, because this is my house of house music, they're going to be doing what a house does when it comes together, discussing issues that affects the house. So that is matters DJing, venues, events, promoters, interviews, features, and everything that pertains to the house music in the country and even beyond. So from now on, I'm going to be adding a video to this playlist maybe once or twice a week, depending on how much I can be able to put up, and also put up with the mixes. So part of this will be gear review, part of this will be tutorials on how to maybe get into DJing or the basics of DJing, tutorials on the basics of producing a piano and producing house, tutorials on different kind of things. I'm going to be interviewing industry players. For example, when I have my DJs over for housemates, I'm going to be having an interview with them so that you can get to know them a bit better. So today being the first video, I want to do my first gear review. Not review actually, just a walk around. I want to show you guys what I normally use, and I know this video is going to be impactful for those who will be coming for housemates, because once you watch this video, you get an idea of what you're going to be using to play the music when you come to do a guest set on my set. Rhymes nice. A guest set on my set sounds beautiful. So in this particular video, I want to show you what I've been using for the last 1 year. It's my first controller, my first baby. This is what got me from mixing using virtual DJ to mixing using Tractor Pro 3. That is the software that I use. So for this particular video, being the first of many, I just want to do a walk around on the hardware part of the controller. So that means I'm not going to go into the software part, that is the tractor part. I'm just going to talk about the hardware, and that is what you can see right here, the cables that goes into it. I have a number of them here. So I'm going to show you guys what is on each side of the controller, from the top to the sides and to the other side. So I don't know whether this is the back or the front, but I'm going to show you what is here in terms of the outputs and the inputs, the power options, USB connections. Then this other side for the mic inputs, the monitoring headphones inputs, and of course on top you have the mixers, the mixer and the players. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a more immersive view, and let's dig right into the DDJ T1 that Modo Wanyoba uses. So come with me. Like I said before, I'm going to take you around this particular controller, and the model of the controller is DDJ T1. Like you can see it noted up here. So it's a pretty old controller, old in the sense that in the year that it was designed by Pioneer. So it was designed in 2011 by Pioneer in collaboration with Tractor DJ. So it is T, that means it runs on Tractor. So this it uses Tractor Pro 3. But like I said, in this particular video, we're just going over the hardware, not the software. So I'm going to start with the front of this controller. I'm going to show you the inputs that we have here. So on this side, we have the outputs and also an input. Then on this other side, we have the USB cable input, and we have the power cable input. So I'm just going to flip this up so that I can get it on the other camera like this. So here we have our outputs. We have the master output one, which is TRS, or what we call quarter jack. This kind of a cable, that is the main master out. So you use two of these. I have them. So this is the first one, and I have another one here. So then the other option for the output is RCA. So that is output master 2. So I have a 10 meter RCA cable here. Nimejipanga, my friend. So this one goes here, and there. That is the RCA cables. So then we have an aux in case you want to feed something into the controller that is also still RCA on these 2 ports. Then whatever you're bringing in, you can control the volume of using this volume control level here. But for my case, most of the time when I'm at home, I use the RCA output. Then when I'm doing something pro and the sound allows, or the mixer, I use the TRS or the quarter jack. Then on this other side, we have the USB port that you put in the USB cable. Then in between the USB cable and the power cable, you have an off and on switch, this one, that you use to turn off the controller off and on. So then this one right here is the power cable that goes in here. But you don't have to use this. It can also be powered by the USB of the computer. So I think that is all that goes. Then is the docks for putting this on laptop stands and whatever not. So that is all that we have on this side of the controller. So I'm going to go right to the opposite side before you can come back to the top of the controller, and I'm going to show you what I have on this other end. We have the headphone jacks. We have 2 of them. We have 3.5 and we have a quarter. So this size goes here, then the 3.5 goes here. I've not tried out whether it is possible for you to use both of them at the same time, but it has 2 ports for using your headphones to monitor your beat matching and your syncing. Then on this other side, we have a mic input. It's also a quarter jack or a TRS that comes with the level controller mixer here. Then you can also select the input, whether you want to use the mic or the auxiliary cables that we saw on the other side of the back. So this one changes between using this mic input or using the aux input that we have over there. So then let me just show you guys the bottom. It's a pretty decent controller. The build quality, this baby is very nicely built. It's all metallic. It can take a beating. Then this being the bottom side, it has a groove from this to this point, and the purpose of this groove is for you to slide your laptop in whenever you're using a flat table as your setup for the controller. So I'm going to now do a bit of a flat table setup. Let me move the cables. So these are the 2 TRS cables and the RCA cable done away with. So I'm going to number 1. I want you to see how this thing comes to power. So the moment I slide in, let me turn it off, and I'm going to put in my power cable like that. So the moment I turn it on, you're going to notice there's going to be a small animation. Everything is going to light up from the top to the bottom. Then you're going to have the deck select buttons on, A and B, and also the jog wheels coming on. Let me just repeat that. If it goes off, like that. So when you turn it on, very nice animation like that. Shoo, looks beautiful. So from this particular section, this is how the controller looks when you connect it to the power, not to the controlling software. Like we said today, we're just doing the hardware. So let me just take you around what is on top of the controller. So this controller, like any other, has 3 main sections. We have 2 players, 1, 2, and the mixer section at the center of it all. So because this is a duplicate of this one, I'm only going to take you through one of them. Then once that is done, whatever I say for this side is going to be the same for this other side. So I'm going to start from the top, and up here we have the effect or the FX section. So that particular section is what controls your effects and how many options you have in terms of effects. So this particular controller has 7 buttons here. We have the wet and dry. This determines the amount of effect that you have. Then depending on the mode that you are using, because you can see we have advanced and we have changed. When you're using advanced, you use these 3 buttons to affect the parameters of an effect. For example, let's say you're using delay, you can have these to determine the filter, maybe the rate, maybe the size of the bit that you're going to be delaying. Whenever you're using the chained option, you can assign a different effect to each of these 3. So this can be a reverb, an echo, and maybe a getter. But for my kind of styling and my style of mixing, I only use one effect. So I normally use it in the advanced mode, whereby I just use this to set my wet and dry, and this to manipulate the effect that I'm using. So then another thing that we have right below, right next to the effects section is the deck select buttons. So we have, you can see B and D. This being a 4-channel mixer, but it has only 2 players. You have to change between controlling 2 channels on each of the players. So when this is on B, when B is on like it is, whatever I'm doing here, I'm controlling the song on deck B. When I take it to D, whatever I'm doing here is controlling the song on deck D. I hope that makes sense. So then right below the deck select button, something which is very strangely placed for someone who has been using CDJs mostly is the filter button. So for most controllers, the filter button is normally at the bottom of the EQ buttons right here. But for this controller, the EQ, the filter button is on this side of the player. So it's a bit conventional and not placed so conventionally, but it works pretty fine. And the good thing is when you get to the software part of the controller, we have the option of using 4 effects on this particular knob, so what you call color effects. So it has 4 color effects. Then right next to the filter button, or the filter button, yes, we have the needle search. So the purpose of this is, if you want to quickly scroll through your song from the beginning to the end, you can tap it nicely and maybe get to your cue point for you to, instead of having to do this for the next 2 minutes, you can just tap the needle search and get to the point of the song that you want. Then you can use this to turn it off and on. You see, like when this is red, it is off. So the essence is, supposing you touch this by mistake and this is on, your song is not going to skip to where you have touched. So this is a very nice function. Then below that we have the loop section, and in the loop section we have 4 main buttons. We have the loop in and the loop out. Then we have the active. Then we have the auto loop button. So the loop in is when you want to manually trigger your loops. So you trigger the in point 1, then you trigger the out point 2. So the moment you do that, it's going to become active and this is going to start flashing. The other option of doing that is, you come here, since this is a knob that can rotate, when you rotate it to the right clockwise, it increases the size of your beat, of your loop in terms of beats. Then the opposite does the opposite. So for example, if I take this to 4 beats, then I time my song nicely and I just hit this like that, it's going to automatically loop 4 beats for me. And then if I have my quantize on, they're going to be quantized and on time. So this is another way of looping. So if you want to kill the loop, you can press this down, or you can press the active button, and it's going to release it. So then here we have the hot cue buttons. So unlike most controllers that have this at the bottom, this particular controller has the hot cue buttons here, and it has 4 physical buttons, but you can use them as 8 by using the shift button. So this is 1 up to 4. Then when you press down your shift, they become 5 up to 8. So you can use this to set your hotkeys, or even to do your echoed cue entries and whatnot. Then right below the auto loop button, we have a shift button. So remember that I said use this to change the size of your loop. But when you press shift, use this to move your beat grid, so that your beat, in case your beat grid is a bit off. For example, when you're mixing a piano and using Tractor, the Tractor algorithm does not know a piano very well. So you're going to have most of the time a wrong beat grid. So you can use this to shape to move your beat grid. Then below that, right next to the shift and the beat and the auto loop button, is the jog wheel, which is not very big. As you can see, my hand covers it up entirely, but it's pretty decent. And the thing I love it, 2 things I love about this particular jog wheel. Number 1, it has grooves on the side. So in case you use the sense of feel to feel how you're nudging the song, the grooves enable you to feel that whichever direction you're taking the jog wheel to, it is moving and it is working. So then the other thing that we have, you can see there's this rotating LED light that we have on top. So this one always comes on, rotates when the song is playing. When you stop the song, it stops rotating. So that you see now, because I've stopped whatever the animation, it stops rotating. So when you see this, that is a stop deck, and this is a playing deck. That is a stop deck, and this is a playing deck. So that is two things I love about this particular jog wheel. Like any of them, you nudge to push the song back or forward, then you press on top to pause or to do the same to release. Then after that, we have the play and cue button. Of course, this is universal to all controllers or all players. Cue button and play and pause button. So then on the farthest end of the player section, we have the tempo or the pitch shifter. So the tempo range is quite long enough. As you can see in size, it is not so short. So you can do a big range of BPM change. Then it has a key lock button. That means when you have this pressed in like this, when you're changing your BPM, it does not change your key, and that is very nice, especially if you love doing harmonic mixing and you want to retain your keys as you're changing the BPM. So the other thing that you have here is the tempo range button. So in case you want to increase how much sliding this changes the BPM in terms of percentage, this is the button that you use. So in a nutshell, that is the player section of the DDJ T1, and whatever you have here on this side of the controller is a duplicate of what we have here. So no need of going over this. So I'm going to go into the last part of this walk around, and that is the mixer section that we have in between the two players. So you can see there's this sort of nice groove that separates the players from the mixer, sort of like the design of the DDJ 400. And so coming from this and going to maybe a CDJ or a more pro controller is going to be feel very native and very natural. In the mixer, starting from the top, we have the browse and load buttons. So like we said, this is a 4-channel controller, so each of the channels has a load button. So if I want to load a song on channel D, this is load for D, load for B, load for A, and load for C. So this channel A, B, C, D. So then after the load, in between the load buttons, we have a quick record button. In case you want to quickly jump into recording your mix, you just hit this and it starts recording. So this is the browse button. This is what you use to rotate in between your songs. Then once you get to the song that you want to play, you load it to the respective deck. So then these four, below the load buttons, we have the trim or the gain buttons. So this is the button that controls the level, the amount of volume coming from this channel. When you have this level up, and you can now, and maybe you feel this is a bit low, we can take it up, or if it is too loud, you can take it down, depending on how you're feeling it on the master output. Then below the gain knob, we have the EQ knob. Like any other controller, this is very universal. So up here we have the highs, the mids, and the lows. So in case you want to kill the highs to the right, the opposite to the right. So the mids and the lows, or the kicks or the bass of a song. So then below the EQ buttons, we have an FX select button. So remember the first section up here was the FS section. So you can use two effects on a channel at the same time. So in case, so this is FX1 and this is FX2. Say for example, I put a reverb here and I put a delay here. So if I bring this on, I can have the reverb and still have the delay at the same time. And then I can turn it off from this particular button instead of having to go all the way up to the FX control panel. So then below the FX control buttons, we have the Q buttons. Of course, that is what you use if you want to listen to your songs and beat match them. If you're using headphones for your beat matching or for your monitoring. Then right below that, we have a sync and a master button. So in case a song is playing and you want the next song to copy the BPM of the current song, you set the current song as the master, then you hit sync on the next song. So this song is going to copy the BPM of this one. Then of course, after below the sync and the master button, we have the volume fader. So this one brings up the volume up and down, up and down. Then what you have down here is channel fader start. So in case it is on, it means that whenever your fader hits the bottom, your song is going to start all over again, and I don't want that. So then the last thing, of course, is the crossfader down here that puts you from this one channel into the next one. But for my style of mixing, I've never used this and I don't use it. So in a nutshell, that is what we have for this particular controller. So I think as the last part of the video, as we are winding up, I'm just going to plug this into the laptop, so then I can get to show you how it looks when you load up the tractor software for the same. So in case you're coming here for housemates, this is what you're going to be using. And I almost forgot, I used this for my monitoring. It was initially a pair of headphones, but I made it into a DIY single monitoring earpiece that is very nice, very light, and very convenient. So this is what I normally use for myself in case you find yourself here and you don't have earphones, be able to use these one-piece earphones. So let me just load tractor, then this is going to light up and look beautiful. So I can use this on the 3.5 jack, or with the, I don't know where I put it, I can use it on the 6 or on the quarter. So the moment the software comes on, it's going to detect. And just to give you an idea of how this will look in a dimly lit club, I'm going to kill off my lights like that. And now you can get an idea of how this is going to look when you have it set somewhere in a club where you're doing mixing in a darkly lit setup. So in this kind of dark vibe, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm going to see you in the next episode of Modo's House, where we talk all matters house. And thank you for being here, and bye bye.